Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Before we start this evening's talk on the Ramayana, I'd like to invite you to please sing a bhajan with me, just to evoke the mood of the Ramayana of Lord Rama and Sita, and please join in. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram, Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jaya Sita Ram, Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram, Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram. Jai Hare Krishna. So this evening, as a part of the Ram Navami or Ramayan week, we are speaking about the glories of Srimati Sita Devi, and I will be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 9th canto, part 2, entitled Liberation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I will be reading on the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra as stated in chapter 10, the 9th canto, part 2, chapter 10, and it's entitled The Pastimes of the Supreme Lord Ramachandra. I will be reading parts of these verses, specially formulated or directed to our topic this evening on the glories of Srimati Sita Devi. This 10th chapter describes how Lord Ramachandra appeared in the dynasty of Maharaj Khatvanga. It also describes the Lord's activities, telling how he killed Ravan and returned to Ayodhya, the capital of his kingdom. The son of Maharaj Khatvanga was Dirghabahu, and his son was Raghu. The son of Raghu was Aja, and the son of Aja was Dasarath. And the son of Dasarath was Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Lord descended into this world in his full quadruple expansion as Lord Ramachandra, Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrughan, great sages like Valmiki, who were actually in knowledge of the absolute truth, decided his transcendental pastimes. Srila Sukadev Goswami describes these pastimes in brief. So that is a part of the introduction of the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra as stated in chapter 10 of Canto 9 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I go on to reading the translation of text 4. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Text 4. To keep the promise of his father intact, Lord Ramachandra immediately gave up the position of king and, accompanied by his wife, Mother Sita, wandered from one forest to another on his lotus feet, which was so delicate that they were unable to bear even the touch of Sita's palms. The Lord also accompanied by Hanuman, or by another monkey, Sugriv, king of the monkeys, and by his own younger brother, Lord Lakshman, both of whom gave him relief from fatigue of wandering in the forest. Having cut off the nose and ears of Supanaka, thus disfiguring her, the Lord was separated from Mother Sita. He therefore became angry, moving his eyebrows, and thus frightening the ocean, who then allowed the Lord to construct a bridge across the ocean. Subsequently, the Lord entered the kingdom of Ravan to kill him like a fire devouring a forest. May that Supreme Lord Ramachandra give us all protection. That is text 4. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gnanjana Salakaya Chakshurum Militam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manoblishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadanti Swam Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Ti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prashadine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatyade Satarite. So I'd like to welcome you all to this evening's class on the Ramayana, and also beg for blessings from the Vaishnavas, from the devotees, so that I could be of benefit in some speaking and hearing of the glories of Lord Ramachandra during this very auspicious time, or this very auspicious week of Ramayan week, as we build up to Sri Ram Navami, which will be observed on Sunday, the 10th of April. This evening's topic, we speak of the glories of Srimati Sita Devi. And we all know that when we speak of Ram, Sita comes to mind. When we speak of Krishna, Radha comes to mind. Or should we say that when we speak of Sita, if you look at it that way, then Lord Ram comes to mind, and when you speak of Radha, Krishna comes to mind. Because essentially, those are the female or the divine energy or the consort of the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So the Ramayana, as the Acharyas have said, is a timeless classic, especially the Valmiki Ramayana, which we refer to in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the canto that I've just been reading, chapter 10. And the Acharyas have stated that the Ramayana can be looked at in a very different way also. We call it the Ramayana, Rama. But actually, the Ramayana, if you look at it in a perspective of the core content, it's actually all centered around Srimati Sita Devi. So many of the sages and the Acharyas actually said that the Ramayana could actually be called Sitayan, because that is what the core topic of the Ramayana is. The Ramayana is divided into several kans, right? So several parts of the Ramayana that speaks to different aspects of the past times. Now, when we look at the structure of the Ramayana and looking at it with the view of it actually being centered around Srimati Sita Devi, the first Kand, which is the Bal Kand, talks about Sita Devi's marriage. The second Kand, the Ayodhya Kand, that is how Sita joins Lord Ramachandra in exile. Again, note that we're speaking about Sita being the divine object, or the person, the pastime in which this surrounds. The third Kand, the Aryan Kand, which is how Sita was abducted by the demon Ravan. The fourth Kand, the Kishkinda Kand, is the search for Srimati Sita Devi. The fifth, which is the Sundar Kand, is finding Sita Devi. The sixth, which is the Yuddha Kand, is actually the war that takes place. And the seventh, which is the Uttar Kand, is the how Sita and Lord Ram has then been reunited. So if you see all these different parts, or the seven Kands of the Ramayana, it looks at how Sita Devi herself was the center or the central focus of the entire Ramayana. And therefore, rightfully so, the Acharyas have said, it can actually, the pastime or the beautiful story that we refer to and that we give all praise and glory to as the timeless classic, can be referred to as the Sitayan. So when we look at even the birth of Srimati Sita Devi, it is filled with such glories. Such glories because Sita did not take birth ordinarily. She did not appear in the womb of a mother, and she was not an ordinary child, just like Lord Ram. And therefore they make the most divine couple, because even their birth, the way they were born, or their appearance, therefore we do not refer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as being born, because they appear in this material world in different times for different reasons. And so when we look at the appearance of Sita Devi, it was very interesting because even her appearance was so beautiful and her appearance was so mystical, if I may use that word. So King Janak was Sita Devi's father, and he was performing this yagya in Mithila. He's the area in which he ruled. And one of the aspects of the yagya was that they had to plow the field. King Janak got many people to plow the field in the area of Mithila. And if ever the plow got stuck in that particular part of the field, King Janak would have to give charity to the Brahmins. So many a times the plow got stuck in the field, and King Janak gave a lot of wealth, a lot of cows, a lot of riches to the Brahmin, and wholeheartedly so. However, at one point during this yagya, the plow got stuck and was unable to come out of the earth. It was unable to come out of the field. And everybody, including King Janak, was so astonished to say, what happened here now? How come at this point the plow is not moving? So King Janak had instructed someone to actually dig up that piece of earth, and let's get to the bottom and see what we could find. And what was found at that point was this beautiful golden box. And when the box was opened, they found this beautiful baby girl. And that baby girl was then known as Sita. So the word Sita, Seet, means actually the tip of a plow. So Sita therefore means the beautiful child that's been brought up from the ground, because remember, this was from the tip of the plow. She's also known as Bhumi Sudha, who is born from the ground, Mother Bhumi. So when her appearance, Sita Devi or Mother Sita, even her appearance was so astonishing. Her appearance was so beautiful. And therefore, as she grew, everybody in the palace of King Janak in Mithila watched with great astonishment to say, let me see what this child is about. Who is this wondrous, beautiful girl that we have unraveled in this golden box under the earth? One of the pastimes of Srimati Sita Devi as a child, which leads to the Swayamvar ceremony, which we'll talk about in a minute, is when Sita was playing as an ordinary child, who would play with her friends, with her other girlfriends in the palace of King Janak, and they were playing with the ball. It is so beautifully described in the Ramayana, actually. When Sita was playing with in the palace, and the ball that they were playing with got stuck under a cart. And what was on this cart? Lord Shiva's bow. Lord Shiva's bow was actually placed on this cart. So the cart was very heavy, because Lord Shiva's bow, of course, it belongs to Lord Shiva. And the bow was placed on the cart. So when the ball went under and got stuck onto that cart, everybody, none of the girls knew what to do. And the servants were watching, the guards of the palace were watching, and there you go, Sita goes with her left hand. She just picks up the bow very easily. She pulls out the ball from under the cart, throws it back to her friends, leaves the bow down, and off she goes like nothing happened at all, and goes back to play with her friends. And at that point, the guards were watching, and they went immediately to King Janak and said to him, do you know what happened? Their Lordship Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. So the guards went to King Janak and immediately had said, do you know what just happened? Your daughter, Sita Devi, just lifted up Lord Shiva's bow with her left hand as though nothing happened. And at that point, again, everyone in Mithila knew that Sita Devi was not an ordinary child. That is what gave King Janak the impetus to actually say, the person who wins Sita Devi's hand in marriage needs to have the same power as my daughter. And that gave thought or rise to the Swayamvar ceremony. The Swayamvar ceremony is when King Janak, Sita Devi's father, invited all the suitors to actually come and say, if you want to marry or win my daughter's hand in marriage, you would have to lift up Lord Shiva's bow. And what was the thought there? Because Sita Devi as a child could do it so easily with her left hand, so of course her husband had to match her power or even be greater than her. And so many people came. the different princes had arrived, the kings had arrived, and they heard that King Janak's daughter is now going to be married, and this is what we'd have to do. And many of them arrived in the palace of King Janak, and he was in great anxiety because he thought, now who's going to lift this bow? And what had happened, people had come, different suitors had come, and nobody could lift the bow. And this even placed Lord Janak in even more anxiety because now he couldn't find a husband for his daughter. And the people of Mithila mocked King Janak at that point and laughed at him and said, you know what, is this a trick from a father? One of those fathers that are too attached to their daughters, who do not really want their daughter to get married. So now you've put something that's so difficult that nobody's going to lift this bow. And now King Janak says, well, let me leave it on for a few more months or a few more days, and let's see who could come in and lift this bow. And when Lord Ram walked in with great might and valor, together with Vishwamitra Muni, Janak told Ram, and this is so interesting because listen to these words. Janak told Lord Ram, if you can lift that bow, then you can have my daughter's hand in marriage. Now imagine King Janak is doubting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's using that word, if you can lift this bow. But we all know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has the whole world is under his control. But here King Janak, because he has become so doubtful. Now remember, in our world, even with us, when we are met with repeated failure, we lose confidence. If there's always failure in our lives and things around us, we lose confidence. So what happened with King Janak, there was such failure in his palace because nobody could lift that bow, that he lost confidence, that he didn't even realize this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Surely Lord Ram would be able to lift this bow. And then Lord Ram, with great ease, not only did he lift the bow, but what happened? He broke Lord Shiva's bow also. And Sita Devi was then, the palace was elated and everybody was so excited about that there's a suitor who had finally won Srimati Sita Devi's hand in marriage. And it was Lord Ram who came in all his glory with Vishwamitra Muni. And Sita Devi was summoned to come down to the courtyard to meet her soon-to-be husband. And when Sita Devi came with a garland in her hand and all beautifully adorned, what had happened? Ram didn't even look at her. And everybody was elated, everybody was celebrating. It was a joyous moment in the palace. But Ram did not even look at her. And when Janak asked him, Lord Ram, what is happening? And Janak was immediately bewildered. Ram said, I have come here on request by my father, King Dasarath. Now that I've lifted the bow, I need to seek my father's permission. And only if my father gives permission would I be able to marry Sita Devi. So Lord Ram turned it around. And at that point, Sita knew this is going to be my life partner. She was very attracted to the qualities of Lord Ram immediately. So once that got out of the way and both parties had met, King Dasarath and the parties from Ayodhya had come to enter Mithila. They had met King Janak and Sita Devi's father. The parties had discussed their ancestries, and the marriage ceremony then takes place. When the marriage ceremony then takes place, again with great pomp and festivity, the Kanyadan takes place. And this is actually the bride's father now handing the bride over to the groom to take care of her. And what happens there? King Janak has this great flashback. He has this flashback of the sudden unplanned moment that Srimati Sita Devi had entered his life. Remember when they were plowing the field, in that ceremony or in that yagya, he did not expect to find a girl child, which became his child, his daughter. So too, unplanned, because there were so many suitors who had arrived to lift up Lord Shiva's bow, But now Lord Ram had come in, and unplanned, so soon thereafter now, he's giving Sita Devi away. But what happens is King Janak very carefully places the hand of Sita over the hand of Lord Ram. Now, in traditional Kanyadan, in the marriage ceremony, the husband's hand goes over the wife's in order to protect her. But what King Janak had done, and this is a very important significance of the wedding, is that King Janak actually has taken Ram's hand under Sita Devi. So spiritually, the significance there is King Janak had said that Sita, you will now take care of Lord Ram. And that is why King Janak had placed the hands upon that way in marriage. So Ram represents the supreme personality of Godhead, or the supreme Lord. And Sita Devi represents the energy of the Lord. Now the Lord, the Supreme Lord, has two eyes. And one eye is the sun and one eye is the moon. The sun being that of the law. So if we do something bad, that eye stares down at us, the eye of the law, the very strict eye. And when we do good in this world, the eye of the moon then shines down and looks at us. However, with the female energy, the both eyes are the moon. So Sita Devi is full of love. Both eyes shine down with compassion. Both eyes shine down with all of us with great love. That is one of the greatest qualities of Srimati Sita Devi that we find in the Ramayana, that no matter how much of distress she was placed in, when we look at the pastime where throughout the Ramayana, whenever Ram and Sita were together, Sita did not allow Ram to kill any demon or demoness for that matter. No demon was killed in Sita's presence. And we could look at this in terms of Shurpanakha, and I've just read text 4 that described that pastime, of where it is said that having cut off the nose and ears of Shurpanakha, thus disfiguring her, the Lord was separated from Mother Sita. So she did not allow Lord Ram to kill Shurpanakha. Rather she said, well, okay, you've chopped off the nose and the ears because of Sita's love for everybody. That even a great demoness who wanted to really harm Sita Devi, she did not allow Lord Ram to kill that demoness. We see that also in the forest, and I'll go there a little later in this discussion, that throughout the 10 months, 11 months of being in the Dandaka forest, Sita did not want Ram or any of the monkey army of Hanuman to actually attack those demonesses. But at this point, coming back to the marriage ceremony of Sita and Ram, Janak's point of placing Sita's hand over Ram shows that the power of a man comes from the love of the female energy. And that is such an interesting point, whether it is the mother, it is the sister, it is the daughter, it is the wife. But the female potency or the female energy in the relationship, in any relationship, is so powerful. And that is why we find that King Janak has made this so clear that Sita Devi, your power will be to help Ram through his lifetime. And Sita corrects Ram many a times through the Ramayana, and that is when she is known as Dharma Charanitava. Dharma Charanitava. Dharma means the law, right? So she corrects the Supreme Lord Ram, and I'll tell you a little pastime in the Ramayana about what happened when Lord Ram had to leave the palace of Ayodhya, when he was exiled and he was banished, and he came and he broke the news to Srimati Sita Devi, his wife. He said to her, you remain in the palace of Ayodhya. I will go on exile to the forest for 14 years because that's what I've just been asked to do. And Sita looked at Lord Ram and said, what? How can you leave me behind? And they had this discussion. And Ram insists that Sita stays in Ayodhya. And he was describing to her all the unlimited dangers of the forest. And he said to Sita Devi, you know what? We have lived a comfortable life in the palace. We've had servants, we've had a comfortable bed. And in the forest, we are just going to be met with such an uncomfortable space. And Sita, you are really not used to that. And that was true. And upon discussion, Sita mocked Lord Ram. And she said to him, she insulted him in such a great way. And she said to him, you know what? I know the real reason why you do not want to take me to the forest. And then Ram says, well, okay, tell me, what is the real reason? And she says, well, my father would be quite ashamed if he knew the real reason. And now this is Sita Devi mocking the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And she said to him, maybe, dear Ram, you are actually disguised as a man, but you are actually a woman. And you do not want to take me because you cannot protect me from all the harshness of the forest. And at that time, upon that insult, Lord Ram says, well, you are now coming with me. And when they enter the forest, and as they left the palace of Ayodhya, because Sita was so sheltered and she was so sensitive in terms of her nature, in terms of her characteristics, in terms of what she was exposed to in her own life, that when they left the forest, the palace a few meters away, Sita Devi asked Lord Ram, are we in the forest yet? And then another few hundred meters away, she asked him, is this the forest? Because she was not exposed to such harshness in her life. But what it shows is that she was willing to follow her husband. And her thought around that, and which she did share to Lord Ram, was that at that point, we have enjoyed many good times together. As husband and wife, we had enjoyed many a good time together in the palace, in this life of queen, of princess, of having great wealth, of having great servantship, and so on. Now it's our time to struggle. And I am going to stand by you. And she had many unspoken words with Lord Ram. She said to him, I am not going to be a wife that's going to be sitting in a palace whilst my husband is on exile for 14 years. And that is one of the wonderful qualities that we are honoring and describing and sharing this evening of Srimati Sita Devi, where she was noble, she was honorable, and she was able to share in her relationship with her husband, even in most difficult circumstances that she did not even realize was going to occur. So, upon leaving the palace, Ram and Sita had quite a relationship that did not need words. Many a times they did not need words to speak or understand each other. And Ram and Sita understood this unspoken language of love that they shared. And upon leaving for the Dandaka forest, Ram tells Sita that whatever our parents do is good for us. And what he meant by that is that from this point onwards, whatever our parents do in the palace, we are going to take it as being good for us. So whatever happens in the palace thereafter, we are going to see it as good. And what does Sita do? Sita smiles in return. And Ram removes his garland as he leaves the palace. He removes his garland and then he places it upon Sita Devi. Again, unspoken language. And the symbolism or the significance of that is that he's telling Sita, I am walking out of this palace today in Ayodhya as a king. I am leaving this palace and I'm removing the garland as a king. And he's giving it to his wife Sita. And in that way, he's showing that when he comes back to the palace 14 years on, he's going to be an ordinary person. He's going to be a beggar. And Sita smiles again, accepting the garland. And these are the unspoken words. And these smiles and these loving exchanges show the heart-centered relationship between Sita and Ram. Again, showing us one of the lessons to be learnt in the Ramayana is that beautiful love relationships between husband and wife, between parent and child, where Lord Ram, Sita Devi, as a daughter-in-law, does not challenge the mother-in-law. She does not ask her husband to go back and question the decision of King Dasarath. She does not place him in that situation. She does not ask him, but why, Ram? Why is it that you cannot be king? Go back and challenge your parents. But she supports her husband in what he needs to do as a part of his relationship with his parents. And that is another beautiful characteristic of Srimati Sita Devi. It shows her strength and it shows her wisdom. So without speaking another word, they have this heart-to-heart relationship and this heart-to-heart connection. Another interesting piece of the way we can analyze Sita Devi and her character in the Ramayana is that when the three entered the forest, Ram, Sita and Lakshman, that's the order in which they had walked into the forest. Ram walked ahead, tall, strong. He walked ahead. Sita walked behind him and Lakshman walked behind Sita Devi. So Ram walked and he followed the path. He was straight and he was focused. And Sita would look at Lord Ram and Lakshman would look at the feet of Srimati Sita Devi. And Sita never steps on Lord Ram's footprint. And you know, when you're walking in a forest or even when you're walking outside in your garden, if you are walking and you may want to follow the path of somebody else because it just clears out the way of any thorns or any stones or any pebbles so your foot doesn't get hurt. But although Lord Ram walks ahead, Sita doesn't. Sita doesn't follow in his footsteps. She actually walks towards a step behind, but on the side, and there's no logic behind it. But what it shows is that Sita is standing strong, and Sita is going to be supporting Lord Ram throughout this pastime. And as all the experiences in this forest are developing, there's this love between each other. And Sita was very, very delicate. Even when she stepped out of Ayodhya, even if a little flower fell on her skin, a dried flower in the forest, her skin would be so sensitive that it would turn pale, it would turn a different color. It was very sensitive. And however, she took the plunge. She wanted to go and experience this with her husband. And she adapted to the forest life because of Lord Ram. So when the golden deer, as we know, comes into the pastime of the Ramayana, and Sita Devi is very attracted to this golden deer, Valmiki actually likens the golden deer to something very interesting. And Valmiki calls the golden deer Abhiram, which means something other than Lord Ram or something other than God. So what happens is now Sita has prioritized this golden deer. Sita says, hey, dear Ram, I love that golden deer. It is so attractive. I'd like to keep it. So what's happened? Her focus has shifted and her focus is now gone into the golden deer, and she begs Lord Ram to please go and get the golden deer for her. And when she moves towards Abhiram, moving away from Ram, moving away from God, she is bringing in negativity into her life, and that's what we see unfolds thereafter. So Valmiki reminds us through this particular area or this particular part of the Ramayana, this Kand of the Ramayana, that when we have negativity in our life and when we move towards that negativity, like this golden deer, this disguised golden deer, which looks all sultry, which looks all beautiful, which comes with all grace and poise, and it's so tempting that Sita wants it at all costs. That happens in our lives too. And when we are attracted to that negativity, we are attracted to ignorance, we are attracted to false ego, we do not understand it as such because it is camouflaged like the golden deer was camouflaged. So it is abhiram, it is moving away from God. And that temptation of the golden deer was actually the demon, and that now spurred the next part of the Ramayana on. So Valmiki reminds us that we should not be falling on the trap of temptation like Sita Devi did. When Sita Devi is taken to Lanka, Lanka is known as the material world because she was tortured there. She was tortured by 700 demonesses that Ravan had placed around her. And just picture this in your mind's eye. 700 demonesses, and Sita Devi is sitting under the tree in very simple clothes, and she is now crying and desperate and feeling really, really vulnerable at that point because she does not want to be in the space. And those demonesses present themselves with one ear and one eye. How intimidating can that be? They are taunting her, they are torturing her, they are mocking her. Yet that one eye and one ear representation shows us false ego. And that false ego encourages us to take shelter of the negative, just like Abhiram of the deer. But Sita kept chanting Ram's name. She kept her focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She kept her faith and her focus. And 10 months on, Sita had no idea about the battles that were going on. Sita had no idea about Hanuman and the building of the bridge to Lanka and the plan that was put in place in saving her. But she remained dedicated. She remained faithful. She remained having hope that Lord Ram is going to rescue her. And the entire Lanka was for Ravan. The only person who was a friend of Srimati Sita Devi was Vibhishan. And Vibhishan represents the one devotee in our life who will inspire us towards God. That one devotee. After 10 difficult months in the forest, Hanumanji comes. And Hanumanji, the mighty Hanuman, he comes into Sita's life singing the glories of Lord Ram. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram. He sings the glories, and when Sita Devi hears the Lord's name, she looks up and she sees Hanuman, and when he drops the ring of Lord Ram to her, Hanuman then he symbolizes the Guru, and the ring represents the Mahamantra. So the Guru brings us the message from Krishna, and he gives us the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And this spiritual master then provides the shelter. Just like how Hanuman brought the sacred message that Ram is coming to save you. Ram will be here to rescue you. So too the Guru gives us that inspiration through the Mahamantra. So after the battle, after everything that's occurred, and when Sita Devi is now reunited with Lord Ram, with great pomp and festivity, almost a year later, Sita is now heading back to Ayodhya. This beautiful chariot, this Pushpaka chariot made of flowers, Pushpaka, made of flowers, where the chariot and Sita is now heading back to Ayodhya with Lord Ram. And there's lots of kumkum powder, colors, holy powders flying into the air as a part of the celebration of the entering to Ayodhya. And she stops for a minute and she sobs. Sita Devi sobs because her heart is so soft. And that kumkum powder flying into the air and celebrating this great victory by all the people of Ayodhya, Sita Devi has a flashback. Her memory goes back to the death of Jatayu, the bird who had seen her being kidnapped by Ravan, and whose Ravan cut off his wings, and there was a splatter of blood. And what happened there is Sita Devi is taken back to that moment. She remembers Jatayu, even in her moment of great celebration, after the suffering in her life. She remembers who helped her, the blood of Jatayu. And when Ram and Sita were heading back to Ayodhya, she stopped Ram and she says, well, you are taking all your monkey friends with you. Hanuman, Sugriv, Angada, everybody is coming with you back to Ayodhya for this great celebration. Take their wives too, please. So she also included the monkey wives. When Ram wanted to destroy all those 700 demonesses in Lanka, she says, stop. Although they taunted me for 11 months before you had rescued me, they made my life miserable. I will not allow you to kill them. Such was the compassion of Sita Devi. Such was the kindness of our heart. Such were the lessons that we could learn from her life. Now remember, I love sharing this because I always say the real heroes, today's heroes, are who we watch on TV. Is that so? I doubt it. Actually, not that I doubt it. Definitely not. Heroes are not those that we watch in the material world. Heroes are not those who would go to space. Yes, that's a topic for another time in terms of space and planets. But heroes are not those who take material civilization to another level. Heroes are those who represent the timeless classics, the morals, the values that we find in the Mahabharata, in the Ramayana. Therefore, these sacred texts are so precious. These sacred texts can be referred to thousands of years later and would never die of value. Because the moral lessons that we've seen, that we've learned from Srimati Sita Devi, in just these few aspects, symbolism that I've narrated tonight, show us that these glories are timeless. If we can try to imbibe that mood as we focus and we meditate on the Ramayana, as we bring about the mood of the celebration of Ram Navami, if we can imbibe at least a percentage, 1% of the mood of Srimati Sita Devi in our own lives, how wonderful would our world be? How wonderful would our internal energy be? How wonderful would our loving relationships be? How wonderful would our relationship with the super soul develop? So therefore, the glories of Sita Devi, her compassion, her tolerance, her kindness, her love, her sisterhood to even those who were nasty to her in the forest, all of that is still relevant in our lives today. The world is a dark place. And when we enter it with love, with care, with compassion, with God-centeredness, with heart-centered relationships, as we've seen in the Ramayana, our world becomes brighter. Our world becomes hopeful. Sita is also referred to as a closing piece by her father Janak as the sun or the shadow. Because it depends on the sun's rays. When the shadow is behind Lord Ram, Sita is actually just there to support and love and care. But when the shadow, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. But when the sun actually comes from before Ram, it shows at the shadow before Ram, it shows that Sita's power is now taking control. And just like if we go back to Sita's hand being placed over the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it shows that her energy, her power is actually what's needed as the female energy or the female pleasure-giving potency to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So actually, we can now understand why many of the Acharyas do believe that the Ramayana should be called Sitayan. And I firmly believe that there's so many lessons, so many more wonderful lessons that we could take from the Ramayana, so many pastimes that we could share. And it's been a great privilege, a blessing, and an honor for me to be able to deliver these few words this evening based on the Srimad Bhagavatam, based on the glories of the Ramayana. And I pray that we could all imbibe the mood of Srimati Sita Devi and keep the Ramayana, the pastimes, and the moral lessons close to our hearts. Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna.